Hello and welcome. You're watching the newsroom right here on ET Now. I am Ajay Sharma. Well, the markets are doing well today with IT stocks leading, but the big story of the hour is strategic divestment of good quality Indian PSUs. BPCL is leading from the front. That's what we are gathering right now. Our exclusive details that global oil majors like ADNOC, Rosneft, ExxonMobil, Saudi Aramco are likely to bid for it. Remember, the government has recently extended the deadline to 31st of July, and we understand that the interest has started to pour in this asset, which has got 25% of market share in Indian fuel outlets and almost 1% of global fuel outlets. A great asset for sure. Somebody who understands both the space, the global oil and gas space, and of course what the government is likely to shape it up into going forward, is joining us now on the show. Narendra Taneja. Mr. Taneja, good afternoon. Thank you very much for your time. So as you may have just heard right now, we are gathering that big global oil majors are lining up. The government, which has maintained that they are very serious about it. 2 weeks back, oil minister said that, then Deepam Sekhi also said that. So commentary is now matching what we are gathering, that this is clearly moving forward and good response has started to pour in. What are your thoughts on this, sir?
Well, you see, Bharat Petroleum is a great asset. If you ask me, it's probably the best oil company we have in the country. Looking at its DNA, looking at its root, looking at its culture, it's among the best public sector enterprises. Let's not forget that Bharat Petroleum used to be Burma Shell. It was a multinational company before it was nationalized in the early 1970s after the Bangladesh War. So most international players, they are very familiar with Bharat Petroleum, as I said, thanks to this history. And especially American companies, they are more familiar, and the British company. So there are many companies, international players who are basically interested in the Indian market, because India over the next 20 years is going to be probably the most lucrative, most attractive oil retail market in the world, more than China, more than any other geography. So they all look at this Bharat Petroleum, with that, picture in the mind. That if you move into Bharat Petroleum, so basically, you're moving into the Indian market, which, as I said, is going to be the most lucrative over the next 20 years. That's why all these companies are interested. But then looking at it at the same time, I think, with the kind of vision the country has got now in terms of energy security and all that, my sense is that probably the government would be more comfortable if international company and some Indian company, they join hands, set up a kind of consortium, and then they go and bid for it. I think that my sense is going to be the consortium route, where an Indian company would also be actually occupying a significant space in the cockpit together with an international bidder. So that is the kind of construct which would, in my sense, would find favor from the government. But we have to all wait and see how things evolve, because right now oil prices are low, and coronavirus is still creating havoc across the world and all that. So my sense is that probably we will see something more concrete emerging, maybe by the end of the second quarter and the beginning of the third quarter. And in terms of, disinvestment of BPCL. But the companies are lining up. Your report is right. And you mentioned Rosneft, you mentioned other companies. All these companies are interested in Indian market. And and those who are already here, they want to expand their, footprint. And those who are not here, they want to come in.
Right. Mr. Taneja, you have been working in the region. We understand that a lot of, from your rich experience of working in the Asian region, all these big oil companies who are big daddies in their own countries, but in the upstream side, say ADNOC, say Aramco, even Rosneft, how does it really make sense for them in their Asia strategy to pick up strategic stake which is available in an asset like BPCL? And at the same time, from the government side also, giving 51% and inviting such a big player in our own sector, how does it really invigorate the entire sector in itself? What are your thoughts on this?
Well, good question. Number one is that why upstream companies, some of them with no experience in downstream, are interested in Bharat Petroleum, essentially a downstream player. With some investment in Mozambique, for instance, in upstream, but otherwise, the BPCL DNA is downstream player. But the reason they want to come is that all these upstream big players, you mentioned Saudi Aramco, you mentioned Abu Dhabi National Oil Company, for that matter, even Rosneft and several others in western part of the world. They're upstream companies, but they basically want to secure demand, of the oil that they produce. So what is the best way? Why Rosneft bought into SR Oil? The reason was simple, because Rosneft is a big producer of oil. With buying a stake into SR Oil, they basically secure demand for their oil and also a market. So it's the same thinking that if you're a big, like Saudi Aramco is an upstream player. But if they get some stake in Indian downstream company, that means, demand, a part of the, oil that they produce, demand is already secure. Like in India, for energy security is security of supply. For upstream players in different parts of the world, for them, energy security is security of demand. They're worried about demand, where the demand is going to come from. But if you buy a stake in a refinery, as part of the deal that you can also supply oil to the refinery, is a win-win for them. So that's basically his idea. But as far as the government is concerned, looking at, basically you look at, for instance, upstream, we have got two major companies, ONGC and oil, both controlled by the government. And it's important because they contribute roughly about 25% or 27% of total production of oil. So as part of energy security, the government would never, don't think government is going to privatize or disinvest in these companies. Will always maintain control as part of the energy security, thinking. But when it comes to downstream, the retail, you have Indian Oil, you have Bharat Petroleum, you have Hindustan Petroleum, you also have a couple of other refineries, you have private sector companies like Reliance, you have also Rosneft.
The valuations. We understand that the valuation which are being arrived upon is right now 1.2 lakh crore, which is a slight premium to what currently the valuation is around 80,000 crore. This is where the interest is coming in. We understand the valuations are being prepared and it's in this region as well. Do you think a global player, with the reason which you just said, do not mind paying slight premium as well to fructify this strategy which you spoke about possible, and to participate in this unique opportunity which India is offering right now in this kind of a situation?
I think they won't mind paying the premium. First of all, it's a premium company, it's a very good company, and they were also potential of using India as an export base for petroleum products. So they won't mind that. And as I said, the main reason attraction is only one. That is to get, when you buy into BPCL, you get a foothold into Indian market. And as I said, India is emerging as the most attractive, most lucrative market for petroleum products between 2020 and 2045. So who would not like to, if given an opportunity to acquire a company like, or to invest in a company like BPCL?
Right. And lastly, sir, any reaction? I am also picking up that Vedanta, which earlier said that we will definitely look at BPCL, it's a great asset, etc., has actually backed out and they may not participate in it. While Reliance, which has recently formed JV with BP, is planning to participate in it. What are your thoughts there? Would they give a good fight? Could Reliance give a good fight to all global oil majors?
Well, I think, Vedanta has no experience of downstream and retail. And I think, they are also facing many challenges, many issues at Cairn, which is an upstream company. And at the same time, my own sense is government would not really like any one company to kind of, get into these kind of assets, too many assets. Like Saudi Aramco is already working to set up a refinery, and they're also buying, stake into Reliance eventually, 1 year, 2 years, whatever time it takes. So which means that, the government probably would like to give this opportunity to some other player. But the consortium, as I said, would be probably led. So but looking at Tata, they're not interested in refining. Aditya Birla Group, they tried, Mangalore refinery, they didn't succeed. They were not very happy. They decided to exit. And when I look at other major groups, I really don't find any of the major Indian private sector group, having the kind of experience and appetite for investing in such a big project. So my sense is that Rosneft will try, or Nayara may try. Reliance definitely is going to be a very big and serious bidder, together with maybe Abu Dhabi National Oil Company or some other international oil company, maybe BP. And some other company or Total, who knows. And so to me, it looks like it's going to be very interesting. But the government knows very well what exactly is the worth, the total, the value of BPCL. So which means if the government needs to wait for extra 2 months, extra 6 weeks, extra quarter, they will do it, but would like to make sure that the government gets the best value possible for its stake in BPCL. So if they need to wait, they will wait. But as I said, that a major Indian company would also be part of the consortium, would have to be part of the consortium.
Mr. Taneja, I am also gathering, and maybe you can add some color on it, that the likelihood or the comfort of the government is that, it may be a government-to-government transaction. Rosneft is a Russian state government company which has already has got a history of a transaction in India, plus as an ally. And, our relation with Middle East has also improved in the last 2 years, be it from the government side, Mr. Modi's multiple visits, or even from a commercial side, the way money has been pouring in Geo. So these two could be the front contenders in your view. Any thoughts there that perhaps it could be a government-to-government transaction?
I honestly don't think that, Rosneft, yes, the government kind of controlled, but at the same time they bought into a private company. And the government blessing was there, approvals moved fast and things like that, because India enjoyed a very good relationship in the energy sector with Russia. But that said, at the same time, I think, it doesn't necessarily would be a kind of, a factor. Important thing would be that, as I said, that the government would like other companies like Kuwaitis to move in, Abu Dhabi National Oil Company, which does have a big presence in India, to come in, or for that matter, a company like, BP or Total or ExxonMobil. These kind of companies to come, because when the big elephants come and invest in India, elephant is always followed by smaller players and independent players. So I think we already have Saudi Aramco looking at India as more or less very close to investing. We have Rosneft already invested. So probably the government would like to see other companies come and invest. And if these companies happen to be, let's say, Abu Dhabi National Oil Company joining hands with a major Indian player, whether public sector, private sector, mostly private sector, I think that's going to be pretty attractive thing. But I know for sure from my information that Reliance is very, very keen. Abu Dhabi National Oil Company is very keen. BP is very keen. Reliance and BP have a tie-up, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they will be joining hands with BPCL too. That doesn't necessarily mean, because this is going to be an independent decision on the part of all players, including BP and Reliance and Abu Dhabi National Oil Company. It's going to be interesting. But the good thing is that, there are so many people, actually, there's so many companies, government-owned companies and independent players and super majors interested in BPCL and therefore interested in India. I think it's not going to be difficult for government to exit, to sell its stake, and I am pretty confident that if it's in the third quarter or the fourth quarter of this financial year, government is going to get a very good price for it.
All right, Mr. Taneja, always insightful to have conversations with you. We will be bothering you a little often between now and the next couple of weeks as this story progresses. Thank you very much for your time. That was Mr. Narendra Taneja. He's the a spokesperson of the government as well for the petroleum cell, and have been very senior person covering the regional oil and gas market for